Hello, my name is David Petrosky, and I'm an eviction attorney representing landlords. Today I'm going to be discussing the LA County extension of the eviction moratorium. The LA County Board of Supervisors decided on January 25, 2022 to extend and modify LA County's eviction moratorium. First, just a little bit about myself. I've been representing landlords since 2004. I'm a published author and a referral source for realtors, landlords, and other attorneys. And we get results. Of course, however, there's no guarantee of success on any given case. Let's talk now about LA County's eviction moratorium. Under the new moratorium that the Board of Supervisors passed on January 25, 2022, the board established a three-phase system to eventually end the eviction moratorium. Phase 1 is defined as February 1st, 2022 through May 31st, 2022. Phase 2 is defined as June 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2022. And Phase 3 is defined as January 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2023. As part of Phase 1, the existing protections that are already in effect will remain as is, except non-paying tenants will gain even more protections beginning in the second half of Phase 1 between the period of April 1st, 2022 and May 31st, 2022. I'll discuss these extra protections briefly in this video, but I've gone into more detail on my blog article, which is on my website, attorneydavid.com. In Phase 2 of the LA County extension of the eviction moratorium, most no-fault evictions are not allowed. Landlords will get some additional rights to terminate tenancies for owner move-ins, but there's still going to be very strict requirements that landlords must meet in order to terminate tenancies for owner or owner family member move-in. Also during Phase 2, if a tenant denies access to the landlord will be able to use that denial as grounds for an eviction. During Phase 2, a landlord still may not evict a tenant for nuisance, unauthorized occupants, or pets. And for the non-payment type case, the protections afforded tenants under Phase 2 will be limited to tenants whose household income is at or below 80% of the area median income. In Phase 3, non-payment protections for tenants at or below 80% of the area median income will continue, but all other eviction protections will expire. So the one piece of good news here for landlords really is that at the end of 2022, most eviction protections, with the exception again being non-payment for certain tenants, will expire. I want to spend just a couple of minutes now detailing more into the various protections that the LA County eviction moratorium provides to tenants. As to the issue of non-payment of rent, these protections will continue throughout Phase 1, Phase 2, and Phase 3. However, during Phase 2 and Phase 3, the protections apply only to tenants who are at or below 80% of the area median income. It's very easy for the tenant to let the landlord know that they can't pay the rent because all they have to do is self-certify, letting the landlord know, number one, that they can't pay because of COVID-related reason, and number two, they can let the landlord know that, hey, I'm at or below 80% of the area median income. It's a self-certification. There's no proof or documentation required. The landlord must, in other words, accept the tenant's word for it. Tenants will receive a 12-month repayment period. Switching now to no-fault evictions, and a no-fault eviction is when a landlord wants to evict a tenant not because the tenant is doing something wrong, but rather because the landlord wants the property back for some other reason. Now, most no-fault evictions are not allowed during Phase 1 or Phase 2, with a limited exemption for owner or owner family member move-ins. However, even if the landlord wants to evict for owner or owner family member move-ins, the owner must meet and satisfy very strict requirements. Moving on to nuisance, unauthorized occupants, or pets. These reasons are still not permissible reasons for eviction during Phase 1 and Phase 2. That means if your tenant is causing a nuisance, bringing in extra people to live in the rental unit, or maintaining pets at the property, the landlord can't use any of these reasons, even though these are at-fault reasons under normal circumstances. But the landlord can't use any of these reasons for grounds for an eviction during Phase 1 or Phase 2. And again, Phase 2 ends at the end of 2022. When it comes to denial of entry, right now during Phase 1, the tenant can still deny access to the landlord, and if the tenant denies access to the landlord doesn't have much recourse. They can't use the denial as grounds for an eviction, except in very limited circumstances, which is outlined in my blog article. During Phase 2, however, these protections will expire, and a landlord will be able to evict if the tenant denies the landlord access when the landlord seeks entry for a lawful purpose. So again, these tenant protections for denial of entry will expire at the end of Phase 1. I've talked a little bit about self-certification as well as repayment of monies owed to the landlord, so I'm not going to go into more details here on the video, but I do discuss it in my blog article at attorneydavid.com. In terms of rent increases, if the rental property is located within an unincorporated part of LA County, then rent increases are not allowed during Phase 1 or Phase 2. On the other hand, if the rental property is located within an incorporated city, the landlord may be able to increase the rent subject to any local or state laws that's outside the scope of this video. The Board of Supervisors have created and extended anti-harassment and anti-retaliation provisions in the eviction moratorium. Interestingly, though, there are no reciprocal protections to protect landlords whose tenant harasses or retaliates against the landlord. If a landlord violates the LA County Eviction Moratorium, the landlord is subjected to civil liability, which can be up to $5,000 per violation for each day that the violation continues. And if the tenant is 65 years of age or older, the court may award additional penalties of up to $5,000 per violation per day. Landlords can also be charged criminally, and the eviction moratorium in LA County can be raised by a tenant as an affirmative defense to an eviction case. If you want more information, I highly encourage you to visit our blog, which is on our website, attorneydavid.com. We also offer a paid informational phone session, which you can also book directly on our website. And during those informational phone sessions, we can discuss with you how the eviction moratoriums apply or doesn't apply to your given circumstances. Again, that website is attorneydavid.com. We also post updates regularly on both Facebook and Twitter. Thank you very much.